What's up, my precious little pack, and welcome back to VEGA Conflict. And Kixai, oh, how you disappoint. The highest fleet that we can hit is level 65 in the Riot, and they're all sector targets. But the payout for them is not ideal. Especially for the amount of damage you can take. And I decided I would hit a 40, which gave me 8,000. A 55, which was... No, 55 and it was 40,000? Or was it 20,000? It wasn't that much. Especially for the difference in damage. And then I hit a 65 and I lost my fleet entirely. It wasn't even to the rest of their fleet. The Dominion carrier launched its fighters, just 2 fighters on all of my ships. They killed everything within the first minute of the fight. They stayed in the air for over a minute and they killed every single one of my ships. The Dominion carrier. In the 65. My fighters, I focused the carrier. I don't know how they put so much health on it, but all my fighters were untouched on the carrier the entire time. And they couldn't destroy it. They were on it for the full 30 seconds, and remember, it's a 3,000 what damage per second carrier? 3,216. Now you multiply that by 30. That's how much damage they did to it. And it was still at about a third of its health when they all failed and they all exploded. And the payout for it, because there was only one ship left, the Dominion, at that little bit of percent of health, and it had 18 or so percent of the total left, and I was at 40-something thousand, so I got only about 50,000 for it. So, not worth hitting. So the 40 would be the easiest one to farm up in mass, which I will be doing as soon as they're done repairing. Well, I can skip it now, but I'm actually saving coins for something else. But how improperly balanced is that? The Dominion carrier had 2 fighter squadrons on my battleship, and it was dead in about 8 seconds from the first initial impact. Well, when they get on and they start firing. The next one was the cruisers. They each only had 1 on them, and they're not weak. Not by a long shot. And each one has a different amount of health. Because they each have different setups. And they all died at the exact same time, even though they all had the same number of fighters on them, and yet, how's that possible? They didn't get shot by anything else because they were still closing in on the range of the enemy's normal fleet. And I was strafing backwards and moving my ships so I could engage one target at a time and force them, so I destroyed the cutters first. Well, frigates or cutters? I don't remember which one it is that was in the front, but I killed them off first, and didn't take any damage because they just got bursted down, which was no surprise. Next up were the cruisers, which did a little bit more damage, but was no surprise yet again. Destroyed them and only did... I think they did damage to the battleship because they got slowed by the cutter or frigates. But then after that, there was only the battleships and the carrier left. The carrier was the one that launched everything before the battleships even came within range. They even launched their fighters. I had led the freaking fight out to the almost edge of the range of the battle play area. And the battleships were nowhere near. And the Dominion carrier wiped out my entire fleet from about 98 or 97% health. All of it just gone. And before anyone thinks, well, it's not a healthy fleet, 17,000, 6,000, 9,000, 13,000, 9,000. And they're not lacking in damage either. Not by a long shot. But the balancing for the 65 is... How much health did they give the freaking carrier? I know for a fact that a Dominion carrier of ours, if a player were to build it and fully armor it with the best it could have, it would stand no chance against Kixai. That is just so wrong on so many levels. So that's 2 failure marks, and yes, this is going to be the hit or miss for the Riot. It's going to be a hit only if you hit the low level targets, which you're going to have to hit hundreds of them, because to get the highest level time token, it's 2 million points. And you need to go right up through all the bars, so until you have to get 2 million. And remember I said you only get 8,000 per level 40 you hit. Granted, if you have multiple fleets, you could hit 7 of them at a time and get, what, 56? No, 49,000 at a time. No, yeah, 56,000 at a time. And that'd be the highest you get, is 56,000 at a time. And that's each time your groups are finished with said fleet. Even at that rate, it would still take you 80 hits? Is it around 80? Don't take my word for that. I'm fairly tired right now. My brain is still half asleep. But other than that, the rewards? Yeah, those are decent rewards, because you can knock off 2 days of a refit or an upgrade, which, to be honest, I would just go for the upgrades, because they love doing stupidly long upgrades in this game. I would literally go for nothing else. But in total, just because of the intel payout and the poor balancing of the fleets compared to their level, it's a miss. The rewards are worth it, but the grind to get it is not. And even if you were to hit the 65s with super fleets, you'd still have to farm the super fleets for several, well, for probably 2 or 3 hours, or an hour. It just depends on if you have a bunch of super fleets. But guess what? Most of us don't, because we're not coiners. So we can get grinding on those tiny ones. Oh yeah, and next up is Sector Strike, and it starts in a few hours. And I'm probably going to skip the rest of the Riot, and I'm going to be ready, or I'm going to farm up and make sure I don't take damage, so every time I hit one, I'll return and repair. But Sector Strike, and for anyone who's missing the Manifold Missile, now's your chance to get it. Reverb Ray, I never used on any of my ships, but never know. Heretic Cruiser, backed up by the Covenant Cruiser. That's another thing I don't understand, why just about every cruiser has 2 shields, or more in the case of the Guardian, but the Heretic only has 1. Next up, Antimatter Scoop, which, if you're having antimatter farming fleets for combat, you're going to want it, because you usually only get the benefit from combat. So you'd want that in on most of your ships. You get that 60% bonus. Next up, the Blister Rounds, which are only for Demon Core, which, to be honest, I don't use Demon Core, but I may after I slowly build up them to use, just because 50% extra damage for the max level for the weapon mass for explosive weapons would be, the benefit could be debatable. Next up, Gemini Turret Driver. I only had level 1 ever, and this is a turret that I do actually like. It's got respectable range, decent damage, and the fact it fires 2 projectiles each time. Granted, the Storm Driver is better, but I'm not going to compare them now. But this is for the lower levels, and you have your Iron Star and your Demon Core tokens. Hold up. Why is the Iron Star before the Demon Core? Demon Core is the newer Tier 5, are they not? They're the Tier 5.5. They were released after Iron Star, were they not? Their tokens should be above Iron Star. Odd. But moving on, we have the resources. We can get 10 of them at a time for Lower levels, it's not going to be a whole lot, but it's better than nothing. But that's going to be about it for this, everybody. What are your thoughts on the Riot? Was it a flop? Did it just utterly fail for all of you two due to the points payout and the amount of damage? Level 40s, they're not that hard at all, because I hit one with my level 74 before taking the 65 on, and they didn't do 1% of damage. They did a few seconds of damage. It was insta-repair. They were being wiped out and dropped like flies, but I can't see people farming them for hours just to get coin tokens. That just doesn't seem right. So, from my perspective and from what I'm doing, I'm giving the Riot a miss. It went so far into the right field that it just failed. Improper balancing, I'm at a loss of words, so I'm just going to leave it here. If you all have anything to say, if you may suggest anything for lower levels, leave it in the comments below, please. And as always, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. It really helps. The views are the most important at the current time. Well, they're the most important, period. I also do enjoy seeing people in the comments. But that's going to be it. I'll see you all later.